Hi there everybody, Bad Raven here. I am going to do a review today of a movie that I've liked for years. It's got an actor in it that I've always looked up to as far as the muscle-bound actor that he is. And without further ado, it is Conan the Barbarian. The 1982 Conan the Barbarian, not the remake with the fellow from the other movie, Aquaman, you know. This is the original Arnold Schwarzenegger classic. Yes, I said Arnold Schwarzenegger. And excuse my inability to be able to have the Blu-ray of this. I don't know why I haven't updated the Blu-ray. I've got the Conan the Destroyer, which is the sequel to this movie. I got it on Blu-ray, but I don't have this one for some reason. I thought I had it on Blu-ray, but I couldn't find it in my collection. I must be thinking of the Destroyer one. But this movie came out in the 80s, 1982 to be exact, and I loved it from the time I started watching it. I mean, it wasn't my first Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, but it definitely was the one that I really liked the most. I'm not saying, I don't like any of the other ones, but I really like this one because I told you that it fits in with my sword and sorcerer type movies that I just seemed like it was so abundant in the 80s. It's like you could turn on the TV and always catch some kind of movie about somebody, fighting somebody that way. And this one just took the cake because of Arnold's, I'm going to say acting ability. I think he acts really well in this movie. I mean, you've seen other people that kind of come out of a different field, like he's within bodybuilding, and go into the acting, and he did it. He was able to transition very nicely, and he pulled it off. He was built like a brick house. He was definitely in shape for this movie, and I loved the way he learned the sword play while in the movie. Well, he probably practiced a lot outside of before they started filming it, and I loved the way he, in one scene where he's sitting on like a mountainside, like just after being resurrected from the dead, and he's like doing all of his sword movements behind his back and around like that, and he is just Conan to the top T, he definitely pulls it off. I liked the movie very well. It had plenty of action, plenty of intrigue, plenty of comedy. It had some comedy moments. I mean, not really like big time comedy moments, but had some funny parts. But the other people in it, I guess I should say, it's got the girl, Valkyrie. She's Sandra Bergman. I think that's what I'm saying. And James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, is in person on this movie. He plays Falsa Doom, and it's got a writing credit for Oliver Stone. I didn't know that. It's kind of with other writers. There's some other writers with it, and it's directed by John Millis, and I may be pronouncing it wrong. Forgive me. And it's widescreen glory on this. That's why I liked back when they finally started coming out with movies in the widescreen. You got to see the whole thing. But in the 80s, this was probably cropped. I know it was cropped, pan and scanned, whatever you want to call it, in those days because of the 4:3 format of the televisions. But nonetheless, it sparked a young boy's imagination enough to totally love Arnold Schwarzenegger in anything after this. I always wanted to be in a movie with him as a young child and be his son, because I just liked him so much in movies. He was kind of like a role-playing person for me in my adolescent days, and I really looked up to him, during that. I tried to lift weights. I tried to be like him, I tried to grow the hair long back in the 80s. I wanted to be Conan. I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, basically. And that's why, I really got into a lot of his movies back in those times. And he has a lot of good movies. But this story is basically him as a young child. His mother, something happens to his family. and he has the James Earl Jones character to blame for it, and he has to search them out to find out why this was done to him in his days. And he grows up and he gets like taken as a slave, and he has to like do heavy labor, and that's why he builds up his muscles, and he becomes a fighter. And they bet on him and stuff like that in the pit, and that's kind of how he becomes a vicious person that he is, because he's a barbarian, of course. And then he gets taken in by a swordsman type of character, and they train him how to use swords. Well, I guess that's when during his fighting days they trained him in all different types of weapons and swords, to be exact. And he gets his own big sword, and I love that sword. I wish I had a replica of that sword. I know they sell them like on eBay, but they're very high. I would like to have that, along with the Kroll glaive would be nice. But you may think about an early Christmas gift. Either one of those two, Conan's sword, the glaive from Kroll. I'll be glad to take it off your hands. But anyway, getting back to reality here. He is in it, and he has to face James Earl Jones, and he's like, he can do all types of things. He's a different type of sorcerer of sort, and he's trying to take over the countryside. He abducted a king's daughter, and the king wants to pay Conan because he's a thief, and then all this to go in and to get his daughter back. And he falls in love with the Valkyrie character here, and because she's as rough and tough as him, and it just makes a great movie all the way around. Visually stunning for the 80s. I mean, they spent a lot of time on it. It looks like it's back in the time period. They make it great practical effects. They got great all types of effects in this, and it would not disappoint. If you haven't watched this movie, watch this movie. I don't want to give it all away. I've kind of been basic storyline, but if you like high adventure, as they say in the movie, you will like this movie. And if you like Conan, if you like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, you'll definitely like this movie, because this is one of his very first movies, and he nails it, as I could say. And it'll be that's when his acting and all of his stuff just started. So he was like new to the business, and he had a lot of good hits all at once, like Conan and Terminator and so on and so forth. I want to do some more reviews, and I'd like to do a whole collection of reviews of just his movies, because like I said, I really like Conan. I really like Arnold Schwarzenegger a lot, so his movies, really, he picked a lot of good movies that I liked to be in. So I just wanted to come in with this review, just the basic thing on the DVD. I have to upgrade this to Blu-ray. I feel bad that I haven't done it by now. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I definitely have to get on to that and see what kind of good transfers they got for Blu-ray. But like I said, if you haven't seen it, watch it. And I know it's old as it is, most people have, but if you haven't, some reason fell below, where you haven't seen it, just if you can find it on Netflix or any place like that, which I highly doubt, watch it. If you can, borrow it from a friend. Just look, say high and low until you can find it. So it's a very good movie. So I'd like to say goodbye, and remember that the Bad Raven is your friend, and keep watching, and we appreciate it. Thank you, and goodbye.